Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I am an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. Make sure to check in the description notes below the video where you will find online information about all my shenanigans, including how to get my patterns to knit up for yourself, how to join the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group, how to support me on Patreon, how to get my merchandise, and today, how to get my new pattern, because today I have a pattern tour for you. I am so excited. This is my first new pattern of the year, I think. I don't know if I put it is. I think it is. I'm so excited. If y'all have been following me on Instagram, you've seen progress photos of this. If you have joined me at my YouTube Live, that is the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I have showed it off in that. If you are my Patreon, you have seen this over time as it has been evolving, and it is finally here. It's back here. It is a brand new crescent-shaped shawl, and I've decided to call it Cloudy in Paris. I'm super excited about it. I just got the photographs taken today so that it can be up and ready for y'all to buy today so you can start knitting it. So let's talk a bit about this shawl. You can see it in the background. I'm going to pull it off and show it to you closer in just a minute, but I want to get the details first. So the inspiration behind this was at the store that I work, A Good Yarn Sarasota, we started carrying La Bien-Aimée, which is this gorgeous yarn that is hand-dyed in Paris, right? And we got in this big old box of merino singles. And so this is what the logo looks like, La Bien-Aimée. And one of the things that really struck me about this yarn is that there were a lot of beautiful variegated colors that were all very subtly different from each other, in that they could be easily confused. Just looking at them, they could be easily confused for each other, but when you looked at the label, they had different names. And then when you really focused on them, you could see that they had different hues and different tones, and they were just, it was this real subtle but gorgeous difference. And I was like, I want to take advantage of that. And I've seen it in other yarns, and you can find yarns that are really close in color. And I was like, I could do a lazy fade is what I was thinking of it in my brain. Instead of trying to like do the thing where you do the striping, and I have a how to do an actual fade. It involves striping. I'll put a link to it below. But this, if the colors are close enough in color, you can just shift. You don't have to do any striping. You don't have to do anything wacky. You can just shift those colors. Now, what was really interesting is side by side, they really are incredibly similar. But once you wound them, you started seeing more difference. And here are my leftovers, and you can see they're very similar. So this is Le Petit Nuage, which means the little cloud, and this is Le Grand Nuage, which means the big cloud. And you can see that this one's definitely darker. This one's lighter. They both have purples and kind of pinks. Hopefully I have shown you the picture that in the skein, they looked very, very similar. Wound up into these balls for me to work from, they started looking more different. This one's distinctly darker. On the shawl, look how different they are. It's kind of amazing how different they are, but they complement each other beautifully. And I just love the way it came out. Now, so from here to this eyelet row is one skein, and then this bottom portion is the second skein. It is amazing how much a crescent-shaped shawl starts eating your yarn when you get to, and it is an enormous shawl, and I'm going to show you close up as I said. But so that's the whole idea. It's 2 fingering weight skeins, 400 yards apiece, and I picked 2 colors that were very close together. You could, of course, pick 2 of the same color and have it one color. You could pick wildly different colors if you wanted to. You can do whatever you want. I just did this transition this eyelet transition between the two just to give it a little break. So that is 800 yards of fingering weight. I used a size 6 needle. You definitely want a minimum of a 32-inch cable. I probably used a 40 because I don't like my stitches bunched up. So that's US size 6, 4mm. And I said it gets big. So the final size, this dimension here, is 17 inches or 43 centimeters. I have a cheat sheet over here. And the wingspan of it is 60.5 inches. It's almost as wide as I am tall. That is 153.5 centimeters. So it is very, very wide. It is a very large shawl. It is appropriate for people with larger stature, or if you like to wrap up, it's just a big, beautiful shawl. Now, knitting it on the 6 gave it a very open gauge, okay? And I blocked it very assertively because I wanted to see how big it got. But you will find when you are knitting it that the texture, there are 2 different textures, the one in the center panel and the one on the wings, and you might fall in love with the textures. And because I did, I loved the textures. So if you love the texture, you don't, and you're okay with a slightly smaller shawl, you don't want to block it so assertively. And honestly, if you didn't want to block it at all, you probably could get away with it because both of the stitch patterns do lay flat. The bottom might flip up a little bit. So gentle blocking can also be your friend, or maybe even just steaming it. So that is something. Now, I keep teasing you. Okay, let's go. So the center, this is another thing. I will link to it in the description notes below. I did a tutorial on how to do the woven stitch, and it is a stitch that involves slip stitches that loves variegated yarn. This is a speckle yarn. Obviously, this texture can stand up to a lot of variegation. So if you've been looking for a pattern to work with a heavily variegated yarn, this might be your bet. And when I posted that tutorial, people were like, whoa, have you ever designed a pattern using that? I was like, I really should. I love it. I just have never gotten around to it. So this is the woven stitch. I'm going to hold it still so you can see it because I have a tendency to wiggle it around. There we go. So it's gorgeous. This is it in the little cloud and the big cloud. So that is the center panel. Now it is worked slightly differently than in the demo, but the end result is the same. And here is the texture pattern in the wings. So this is just a simple knit purl pattern. That is a 12-row repeat, but I think it looks very, very cool. It's kind of sort of a variant on seed stitch, but nowhere near as tedious as seed stitch. I really like it. I've used it a couple times. It's sort of my personal substitute for garter. It creates just a very neutral field for your yarn to show off, but I personally get exhausted working too much garter. I definitely want a little bit more variety. So it's about as brainless as garter, but not quite. You got to keep track of the rows, but it is not difficult. Now, I'm going to scoot back a bit so you can see. Look how big it is. And look, it's still dangling. It is an absolutely, whoop, here we go. It is just a very, very large shawl. Now, if you didn't want a very large shawl, could you go ahead and stop at one skein? You most certainly could, because as I said, this texture has a tendency to lay flat because of all the slip stitches, and this has all the knit purls. So you could definitely stop wherever you wanted to, or if you wanted to make it bigger, you could continue. Now, what would happen if you made it bigger is, so you see the difference, as I showed you, the difference between this distance and this distance. If you added another skein, you're only going to get like this much more, because the rows are just going to get longer and longer. You're going to get about half the width of that stripe. But look how it keeps on going. It is a large, drapey, beautiful, silky, amazing shawl. It will work in any fingering weight yarn that you would care to use. The La Bien-Aimée is absolutely amazing though. And, you know, if you wanted to play with gauge, if you wanted to use a different weight yarn, you're just going to get a different size. You're going to need to go up needle sizes. Look at that. Look how I think it looks pretty cool. So, and here, look, so this is my working copy, but I have written it all up and it has been tech edited and it is ready to go. It is on Ravelry. I will put a link in the description notes below, but if you do not use Ravelry, it is also available through a site called PayHip, which I will put a separate link to that so you know which one. It'll be very well labeled so you'll know which one that you want to choose. So is there anything I missed? Oh, you need 2 stitch markers. Almost forgot that. So the V that you were seeing, this yarn over, let me put it back up here. This here, this here, that is an increase point. So you actually, like the instructions are knit to marker, slip marker, yarn over, work across the middle, yarn over, slip marker. So you're growing inside here, so you need those 2 stitch markers to keep your shape going on, but the instructions are really straightforward. I would say that this pattern is appropriate for an adventurous beginner. There is really nothing too terribly challenging in it. These are just knit to together yarn overs, I believe, or slip slip knit. I'm pretty sure it's knit to together. They're just knit to together yarn over to create this eyelet row, and other than that, it's knit, purl, slip with yarn in front, slip with yarn in back. That's all really that's going on. The entire pattern is written instructions. There is not a chart at all. So that is Cloudy in Paris. I couldn't resist the fact that the 2 color names were variants on clouds and it's gray. I just thought it was fun. You can do it in any color you want. It would be beautiful in just about anything, and as I said, would work with variegated yarns exceptionally well. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. If you decide that you want to knit it, let me know. Come over to the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group and share pictures of yarn that you're maybe considering, and I can opine upon them. If you're on Instagram, tag me with your yarn choices, and I'd love to see what y'all do, and I cannot wait. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, click that like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to my channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.